Evening, folks. Well, it's NFL draft night. You won't see much draft here, but we'll talk football and we'll talk to a guy who was drafted, Ben Troupe, and two guys who weren't, Franz Beard and Loren Meadows. Tonight, some changes in the roster in Florida, and that's about Carswell calling me on my phone if you want to know. Carswell Bunner, my host here on the last couple of weeks. Been a great time being with Carswell, doing the show live from his house in Ocala. But stand by in a few minutes. We're going to have our friend Ben Troupe arrive any moment to talk about, among other things, a couple of roster changes at Florida, and we'll see if there's any interest in the draft. Not so much around here. Stay tuned. The Buddy Martin Show is about to be on the air right here. We'll get your comments.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no tooth.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening and welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. It's the Buddy Martin Show, heard 4 times weekly, at night, otherwise during the day, sometimes with the QB himself, Shane Matthews. Tonight, it's myself and my partners on every Thursday night. It's usually Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday, starting off with the bastard himself, Ben Troupe, who was once drafted, then on with Franz Beard, who will update us on the roster, who was not drafted, and Loren Meadows, who could have been drafted but wasn't. So stay tuned, coming your way. I see my man Ben Troupe is in the house as we're broadcasting tonight again from the residence of Carswell Ponder in Ocala. What's famous about him? He taught me how to play quarterback in Ocala. Didn't say much for him. Anyway, let's go see what Ben Troupe's got going. Hey, Ben, what's happening, brother?
Chilling, just trying to keep up with this draft to see. You know, I don't know why I be looking like I got a horse in this race, but I'm just always, draft night is always near and dear to my heart. I saw a lot of, guys I played with, played against, remember playing, just going back to that day. Because obviously every single player coming out of high school, going to college, want to have an opportunity to get drafted. And draft night is special. I mean, it just really, really is. I mean, to see going to be a lot of quarterbacks going. It's already been, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, already gone. But I'm just happy for everybody involved. I think sometimes, buddy, when you go to college and you see how deep this ocean of talent is, and you say to yourself, "Hey, no way, man! I'm just trying to make it on the field in college." And then draft day comes, and thank God that you're blessed enough to potentially hear your name called. It's a unique place to be. So to everybody that's gonna hear their name called tonight, tomorrow night, as well as Saturday. Whether you number 1 or number 256 or whatever it is, man, just make sure you thank the people that helped you get there because, people always ask, how you know you're going to get drafted when you get drafted? All this stuff, all these things we say about special and, man, coaches, players, teammates, opponents, resources, trainers, equipment men, strength coaches. There's so many people, too many people to name, by the way, that help you do what you do to the point where if you had to do a thank you card, if you had to had a list of thank you cards, you sending out 400-500 cards. Because every time you think you get, I got to send those, I got to send it. So congratulations to all the players. And even if you don't hear your name called, you have to go free agent out of college. It's fine. Opportunities come in different ways. And I'm just happy at the people involved. Because, buddy, as much as we love, college football, NFL football, baseball, ain't nothing like draft. Ain't nothing like NFL draft. It is the one thing that you're going to watch a lot of guys. Either you know them personally, that you saw them, or maybe you passed, interviewed them down the line. I'm just happy for everybody involved tonight.
Well, little known story about Ben Troupe. I don't do much on the draft. I used to cover the draft quite regularly. In fact, I started covering the draft in New York when there were just about 200 people there. Half of them were Jets fans, in the hotel there. And it was just a little thing, a little small party that grew into this unbelievable national event. Yes. And I used to have an argument with a guy in Denver who called the Broncos games, Bob Martin, who once said that the NFL draft was the biggest sports day in Denver. And I said, Bob, how could it be the biggest sports day when they don't keep a score? There's no winner, no loser. How could it be that? It's just like picking up sides when you're a kid. I'll take you, you take me, take whatever. Of course, he turned out to be right. It was huge. But I am not a draftnik. I'm not a draft guy. I don't keep up with it. I know that the quarterbacks are going to be going. And I see Michael Penix Jr. was just drafted. What was he? 8th. And so there's no doubt about it. And little known fact about Ben. Okay, Ben's a very generous person. When he got drafted and made $50 million, and he gave me $1 million. I'll never forget that. You remember that, Ben?
Yes, sir. I remember it fondly. It's funny that you say that, buddy, because the draft is such a mythical thing. Because it's one of those things that if you've been watching the draft and you've never been a part of it personally, you only can say what you think it is. And obviously, being my fondest draft memory, 2004. My father had a friend that I had never met. That had a pond. In the country, you got a pond or a lake or something. You doing it. So he had a pond, had a nice pond, and he let me come to his house, and that's why I had my draft day party. A teammate of mine that I played with since middle school, his name was Isaac West. Isaac West to this day is one of the best athletes I've ever been privileged to play with. Isaac, and I got to confirm this. But Ingle Martin, who ended up going to Furman,
threw to him. From Florida,
threw to him, and I got to confirm this. I think Billy Napier also threw to Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah, he was at Furman, but I haven't confirmed that yet. I have to talk to him and ask him. But this is obviously in 2004. Cell phones are still trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah,
trying to
big old box things.
Yeah, that's when we had Roman, but that's when we had Roman. So
yeah. Roman, oh no, I got to pay all this money for Roman.
As soon as you start Roman, you try to take the phone off. So he comes all the way to Swainsboro. Him and his sister Maya, they came all the way to Swainsboro to be there for my big moment. And I never ever got, because it's, the moment is so huge when you're going through it. I never ever got to tell Isaac thank you, because sometimes when being a player, you don't know who's really rooting for you. Not that you like going out of your way to see. Isaac really showed me who he was as a person, not just a teammate. And I just remember that because, listen, there ain't a player. I think when Isaac left Furman, he was an all-time leading receiver at Furman. I don't know if that's been broken since it's been a long time.
Well, they probably did throw it to him, yeah.
But I just appreciate the fact that he wanted to be there for my moment. And I never ever said I'm pretty sure I said thank you that day, but not in this capacity. Not to just look at him and say, look, man, we share the same thing. We the same age. I hope this for you. So to Isaac West, man, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, man, I appreciate you, because sometimes, buddy, when people say, man, how do you become what you become? Man, when you get to be around people like Isaac West, and you get to emulate that level of character, to being that young, 21 years old, showing, listen, now mind you, ain't no GPS now. Ain't no navigation in your phone. You got to know where you're going. No. But I appreciate Isaac and his sister Maya, even his dad, Isaac West Sr., and his mom. They've always been stand-up people. But draft day for me was humbling for this reason. My agent, Joe Siegel, who came, shout out to Ashley and Mike Speed, who still work with Gators Golf and up there in the compliance office, Mike Speed, a.k.a. Mr. Get You Your Tickets, however many tickets you need on Thursday night. When I picked my agent, Joe Siegel, They helped me ask all the questions. Me and my mom just sitting there, we didn't know what questions to ask. And they made the process so smooth, so easy, because they said, Ben, we are here on your behalf now. We're going to help you pick somebody. But we ain't going to be friendly to them. We're going to be professional, but we ain't going to be friendly. My agent told me this. He said, Ben, he said, this is what he said, look, you will not go higher than 20th, and you will not go lower than 40th. I got drafted 40th.
Wow.
I mean, because he, mind you, he was basically telling me, he said, look, man, I know this draft process. Like, I understand. I've been around it long enough to know what players, coach is looking for, not looking for. But it's just such a humbling experience, buddy, because it's so rare. And I just, like I said, I just appreciate Coach Spurrier, Coach Zook, Coach Zonbrecker, all my teammates, because everybody want to get drafted. Every single player in college football, whether that's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, HBCU, Ivy League, and to know that I was a top 40 draft pick in 2004, every time I see it, I just know how much pressure these players are under now with so much scrutiny, so much visibility, access. But listen, if you get drafted or if you don't, you are not a failure. Let me say that right now. Stop thinking, oh, I didn't go out. You were in a position to continue your athletic career professionally. That is the rarest of the rare. So, like I said, to everybody who's going to get drafted tonight and the next couple of nights, just take it all in, man. Really, like just breathe it in and say, dang, because as much as you've done thus far, when you get to where you're going, no matter what city it's in, it starts over again. And now it's literally for the money. You are literally getting paid to play a sport, and make sure you do not take that for granted. But yeah, buddy, I mean, the draft is here, man. It's one of the great. The draft is not tonight. It is tonight, but it's the next 2 nights. You talking about rounds 2 through 7? That's when we're finna start shaping some of these rosters.
Yeah. So. Well, take us back to that night that day in Swainsboro at the pond with Isaac West, and you're sitting there. The boy from from Georgia is about to get picked. And really a guy who came on his last 2 years at Florida, decided he wanted to play ball, and how you advance, and suddenly you moved up to the top 40 players picked in the draft. That's a big deal. Only other guy I know who did better than that was Terry Bradshaw, who was picked number 1 overall from Louisiana Tech. And then we went, what? What's that all about? How did you get picked? How did you move up? What did your agents tell you about why you got picked by Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm. My agent told me he said sometimes coaches in the league, they just waiting to see how much you've matured as a player. They know they know you gotten bigger, stronger, faster, whatever. They want to know, have you matured? And he said what set me apart was when I went to the combine, my interview process. I answered all the questions. I didn't duck any questions. I wasn't afraid to be honest about where my ability was. So I just appreciate Tim Shaw. When I went down to New Orleans, they made it such a huge thing, the interviewing process, learning how to sell yourself, learning how to be able to answer hard questions, learning how to be a professional before they said you got to be a professional while becoming one. They used to tell us that. I know you guys aren't professionals yet. So them putting us through that process of, they said, let me tell you something. It is not your job to highlight it is not your job to highlight your weaknesses. It is your job to answer the questions. If they ask you what your weakness is, you said, I don't have a lot of weaknesses. I just got to get better. Because he said, but by doing that though, buddy, I think the thing is too, my agent told me, he said, look, man, who you are in person, they get to figure out who you are. Like, they're talking to the person. They've seen the player. And he told me, if you weren't going to be a top pick, we would have never met each other. My agent was really, really upfront, honest, which I appreciated. And it was such a fast process though, because once you play your last game, and then Rob Glass, strength coach at the time, they give out the letters right then on who's got invited to the combine. Then you get invites to senior bowls, hula bowls, different things. But the most humbling thing was the combine, because we had a big senior class. My senior class was big, including Rand Carthone, who just made his first pick, who just made his first ever first round pick.
Who do you pick? You know,
They picked the
my receiver.
J.C. Lathan, a offensive tackle from Alabama. So they're trying to protect old Will Levis from Kentucky, but it's just one of the things, buddy, that I always tell players this: as great as a resource as Florida has, and they have some of the best, if not the best. If you're going to get drafted and you get to go upstairs, and I'm not talking about the head coach's office, I'm talking about the compliance office, they are going to wow you at how well they know what they're doing. It wow, because my mama came on campus, buddy, for me to try to pick an agent. And listen, Ashley and Speak said, "Ben, we got you." That's what they said. You don't even got to talk. We would ask every question. So I just and listen, and like I said, it's been 4 years already since this is Kyle Pitts' 4th year already coming up. That's how fast.
Are you kidding me? We just
so think about this.
Remember getting drafted? Yeah.
When Kyle Pitts got drafted, the University of Florida reached out to me and said, "Hey Ben, we think that Kyle's going to be the highest drafted tight end in NFL history," which is crazy to even think about. Would you want to do his voiceover? I said, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And to think that he's already going into year 4. Already. That's how fast the years go by. But
you played 5 years, man? Did you play 5?
I played 5, yes. I played 5, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I enjoyed it. Listen, to Robert Turner, man, big time. I appreciate the fact that when I went to the University of Florida, I didn't grow up a Florida fan. I understood who Florida was. And to walk away, being drafted, John Mackey Award. I mean, these things blow my mind. And like I said, my grandfathers and grandparents are up there in heaven just laughing. Like this boy right here, because I am their wildest dream. Ain't no freaking way. My first day on campus, I went to the Walmart right off Archer. I try to get some toiletries, just trying to get some things before I go back I look at the magazine, there go Brock Berlin. There go Darrell Lee. Willie Green, I knew who he was. I didn't know he was that big time coming out of, Orlando, Florida, West Orange County. The boy had so many touchdowns, they retired his jersey while he was playing. Just, Ernest Graham and Robert Gillespie and Riche Caldwell, and the list just go, Jabbar Gaffney. So to know that when I left Florida, I always asked the Lord, I want to be the first guy drafted from the team I came from. I want to be the first guy drafted to the team I go to, and I want to walk away on my own terms. I did all 3. I was the first guy drafted from Florida in 2004. I was the first guy drafted to the Titans in 2004 because they traded down to the second round. And when I walked away from the game, I could have played 10, 15 years easy.
Why didn't you play more? Ben, why didn't you play more?
Because for me, buddy, I love playing football, and when it became something else, like football really became a job for me. It really became getting up, going to work.
Yeah. And you're making a scratch, man. You're making money.
I was. And as my grandparents would tell me back in the day, they say, listen, when you're willing to walk away from a dream, God will give you something greater. And I did. But that ego in me, the little bit of ego I still had it because I ain't got nothing now. Yeah. I had to make sure, but it's one of those. It's when Buddy Martin wins the award, but who you won it against. You're like, look, I didn't write to win the award, but and when they told you who you was in the category with. So for me, I didn't want to walk away knowing I wanted to know I still could play. So I get a workout with the Arizona Cardinals in 2009. Ken Winsenhunt was the head coach at the time. I went and worked out for the Giants. And then it didn't work out up there. So I went to Arizona. Ken Winsenhunt was the head coach. The offensive coordinator was there. The run game coordinator was there. The GM was there with the president. Was all out there watching me working out. They said, listen, your agent already sent over a contract, man. All you got to do is go up here and sign it. They had Larry Fitzgerald and, Darnell Dockett, Darnell Dockett is the guy that from Florida State who was pulling on
right.
Right. And listen, and because
God twisted Ernest Graham's leg.
Yeah, and because all those, I had essentially the whole staff, definitely the whole offensive staff and the GM and the president down there. I said I could walk away because I know that I wasn't being told you've lost a step, you can't do it. And by me knowing that I could still do it, man. Now, mind you, I didn't have no clue of what I was going to do next. I'm 25 years old at the time, but the one thing I never did, and I had a teammate tell me, he said, "True, let me tell you something. Don't cheat the game." Meaning, just because you can don't mean you should. Don't cheat it. And I never cheated it. And my last year in the NFL, what people don't know about this was I was on the opening roster of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because 4 years after I got drafted, so I got drafted, played 4 years. John Gruden, and when free agency started in 2008, the first phone call I got was not from a GM, was not from a president. It was from John Gruden. He said, "Ben Troupe, I'm coming to make you a Tampa Bay Buccaneer." He said, because what people don't realize was, he said, when I came up to Gainesville for your pro day, me, the head coach, I was going to work you out. He said, but it was so many coaches trying to get to you, I couldn't even get to you. He told me this. So I went to the Buccaneers for 2 games, got cut, ended up trying out for the Falcons. And the Falcons, when I tried out for the Falcons, the scout at the time was Rand Carthon. He was a scout out there working me out. Yeah. I ended up going to Oakland, and when I get to Oakland, I was so distraught. And my friend told me, one of my teammates said, "Troop, you get the double dip." Because I had been in the league 4 years. Yeah. He said, because you was with the Tampa Bay Bucks and you with Oakland, they owe you your whole salary from the Bucks. So they got to pay you for the whole year. I said, really? So, hey man, like I say, I've been way too blessed in my lifetime, and so I appreciate the fact I had a chance to do it.
Listen, you did something not very few people get to do. By the way, I really appreciated that when you walked away from the game, you told people, the reason I am hanging them up is I want to go be on Buddy Martin's show. That was great. That was great. You do that. I really do appreciate it. Made my career. Between that and the $1 million you gave me, then we'll be friends.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something. Listen, when people ask me, you know how you ask people, do you miss it? And I go, no. And the reason why I don't miss it was, one, I didn't cheat it, but two, I go, look, man, most people, football, basketball, baseball, that's their identity. That's all they have. And nothing against them. I'm having so much fun now because this is what I was always supposed to do. I was supposed to be on somebody's, airways or doing my nonprofit stuff or speaking or writing books. Because you know how it is, buddy. When you young and you focus on your career, everything takes a back seat. Family, friends. So I don't miss it. I appreciate it. I don't want to go through no more training camps. I got to get coached by John.
We won't put you through any more here. You don't have to do it. And by the way, while we take a break and go get friends and tell folks about our sponsors, do me a favor and tell me what happened. Apparently, there's a big stir in Atlanta by taking Michael Penix. People are ready to go up in arms. And a couple other surprise picks have happened, apparently. If you would research that, we'll do our spot. We'll go get Franz. We'll talk to Franz about his playing days. Oh, wait, he didn't get drafted either, like me. Here's our sponsor, Jeffrey Melton. Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV. But after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon. And that's all right. Thanks very much to Jeffrey, and we're going to get Franz. And by the way, I think Jeffrey's got a podcast on Saturday with Patrick Young, who was on last night with myself and and Allie Peak Wilbur and David Moulton. It was really good. We're going to be going up to Gainesville on Tuesday night to have dinner. We're going to see Patrick. He's having a book signing there during the day. I think he's doing his show 11 o'clock with Terry Norvell. And you might want to go by there and pick up a book. I've already ordered mine and support Patrick, and he's got quite a story to tell. I know Franz Beard knows it. I think one of the truly fine young men I've known in Florida, and a guy who's got quite a story to tell, has lived through a lot. Good evening, Francis. Did you ever get drafted?
Yeah, when I was
in the Army.
Standard Oil took me as a 10-year-old for their little league team in Sanford. Then we moved to Gainesville and set the Service Oil Company, keeping it with the oil companies.
Okay.
Which was owned by John Baldwin, who's one of the great Kentucky football players of all time, but became a great Florida booster.
Wow.
And he owned Southern Service, and I got drafted. I was their number one draft pick that year for the 12-year-olds available. So
I think we just officially reached the TMI stage of this program. Too much information.
I felt pretty good about that because I hit 357 that year.
Wow. Wow. How about that? Well, anyway, here's Ben Troupe, who played 4 years in the league, retired, gave me $1 million, and then told the media when he quit because he wanted to do talk show with Buddy Martin. I appreciate that. So, Francis, how are you? Say hello to my man, Pastor Troupe.
Well, it's always good to be talking to him. I don't see enough of me. I only see him about once a week here on the radio show, and but I'm planning to get up to Savannah sometime soon. Now.
Oh yeah, listen, I will say this. You know what I was most jealous of in Florida? It's crazy, right? And I can say this now because we playing days is over. When you a freshman or a sophomore, and after games, you just walk by the big room. The big meeting room. You have no clue what's going on in there, right? So one day you will see one of your teammates come out of there. You be like, "What you doing in there?" "Oh man, there's interviews in there," right? But it's the thing, right? You notice none of us will ever stick our head in there to see. Because Spurrier or Zook will be like this. They'll say, "Don't be," they'll be like, "Stay out of there. Ain't nobody asked you to come in there." And then you finally get to go in there, right? And the first time you go in there, it is scary as hell because it's so much different than coming off the field and somebody from CBS want to talk to you on the phone. And when I went to New Orleans to train for the draft, Tim Shaw asked me, he said, "Y'all do media training at Florida?" I go, They just put you in front of them. And it's funny. He said, "So what kind of questions do they ask you?" I said, it feels like they asked you 50, but they probably only asked you 5. Like it feels like it, but you realize too, Ron Zook said this. He said, "Some of y'all gonna go in the room because you my best player. Some of y'all gonna go in that room because I trust you. And I'm not gonna tell you which. I'm not gonna tell you which one you are." That kind of stuff works, man. Because when you going in there, when he say, "Hey, you go in that room," you like, "Am I one of your?" Zook was good at that mental warfare stuff. That dude, he'll say it though. He'll say, "If you go in that room, it's because you're one of my best players, or you go in that room because I trust you. And I'm not gonna tell you which one." Because he knows we want to know, like, which one, coach, which side am I on? Am I in the middle? But that stuff works because when you go to the combine and they ask you a quote hard question, they get mad because you know how to answer it. They be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's from Florida." I'm like, "No, man, I'm not here to talk about
too slick."
Hey, Ben, you got to be interviewed in the big room. Buddy and I started out. When we started out, they gave us, we could go in the locker room, and we didn't have recorders. They didn't have those, so you had a pen and you had a little pad in your hand, and you'd have 6 guys around the same guy, and he'd say, the guy would say the same thing, but you'd have 6 different versions of it quoted. And those were because we couldn't write fast enough for one thing.
Can't read your writing when you get done either. So
yeah, I know. And some of the time, you're in that locker room, the old Florida locker room after the games, and you'd sweat, and the sweat would pour down on your pad, and you went and make your ink run all over the place. It was terrible stuff. The recorders changed the world. You know, being able to sit there, hold that thing in front of you, and you can actually hear what the guy really, really and truly said.
Hey, Franz, you've been the man counting the bodies on the roster. You're good at this. Franz counts things. You said they had to get down below 87. They did. Today, Riley Simons is joined the coaching staff, which is one. And they had another one, Pouncey, has gone to portal.
Ethan Pouncey was here, and his biggest problem was he wasn't strong enough. He wasn't physically strong enough. You're talking about a kid who's maybe 5'10", 5'11", 170-something pounds. And as Ben can tell you, if you're going to play corner, even in the SEC, at that weight, at that level, I'm telling you, it's really, really hard to do. That's why, you know, you're looking at guys now. There's a guy in the portal. I was checking it today. Cornerback, starter at an SEC school who transferred, 6'4", 207 pounds. And that's where we're going with this stuff, because you get receivers now. You know, Ben was ahead of his time, because Ben's a guy that if he'd come along like 4 or 5 years later when they had some of these flex offenses where he could have been like a hybrid wide receiver stuff, Ben could have done that. Ben wasn't necessarily a hand in the dirt tight end. He could have done that, and he would have been a perfect fit in the new offenses. So, you know, you see a lot of people transferring, and one of the reasons some of these corners transfer, and I'm looking at a lot of them, I probably 65% of the corners that are transferring, I look at them and they're 5'11" or less, and they're 185 pounds.
It's always been, they've been too short lately. They got to stop getting those 5'9" dudes play corner, you know, play against those 6'4" receivers. Just, you know, say jump ball, you're going to lose every time.
You just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The game's gotten bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the cornerback position that you said, I mean, you just said a mouthful, Franz, because the thing is too, right? I remember when, when I was coming in, I remember when 190 was a big corner. 190 is a small corner now. When you 190, man, they'll say you got to get up to at least, if you're 170, which means if I can gain 20 pounds and I'm still less than 200 pounds, if somebody's walk around weight is 195 and your walk around weight is 170, you giving up 25 pounds, man, that's going to be a long season.
Hey, I didn't have many highlights in high school, but in my spring game in junior year, I was the second string quarterback, and I had a guy who was 6'5", playing so-called end, and I had a guy who was a linebacker on the other side that I knew. He was blitzing every single down. And my coach called me and said, just throw a jump pass out there. Jump up and throw it to him and to Richard, and see what happens. I completed 13 balls to him in that game. 13, okay? Paper road. I knew kept that combination on the scene. They were kind of Wildcats. Of course, I wasn't.
But better check this out. Remember everybody remember the kick six, right? The kick six.
Yeah.
And the guy that ran the kick six back name is Chris Davis, right? He the one that ran it back. Well, this is what Chris Davis also did. In the national championship, Florida State versus Auburn, Chris Davis is probably, 5'10", 190.
Yeah.
Right? Kelvin Benjamin is like 6'5", 6'6", about 250, right? At receiver. His worst nightmare came. It is on the goal line. He looked, they snapped the ball, and only one mammoth of a man runs out. He's wearing number 1. And Chris Davis was like, oh my God, they're about to throw to this guy. They're gonna throw the slant.
Yeah.
Chris Davis, that's the greatest play in college. The kick six got to be the greatest play in college football.
It's unbelievable. Given where it happened, yeah.
Your play sent them to the SEC championship game. You win the SEC championship game. You win, and now you get to play. He went from the and listen. I don't feel bad for Chris Davis. I feel bad for that safety. If I'm that safety, I'm like, I'm not finna let this dude get his. Listen, they threw it to Kelvin Benjamin. Florida State goes undefeated. The rest is history. It's like that's football, man. You go from the hammer and one play, you the nail the next play.
Yeah. Well, Franz, what's the shape of now? Also, they lost a member of the strength staff. Everett Thompson was hired by Washington. He was Huskies director for speed, athletic performance, and speed coached the Gators the past 2.5 years. And so it's the latest shakeup. I don't know if he was asked to go or wanted to go or what. Anybody know?
He got a raise.
Better deal.
He got a raise, and he moves up. He moves up a few notches from like the number 3 or number 4 guy here to the number 2 guy at Washington. So,
hey, what do you guys think of Jaden Rashada going to Georgia?
I think it's a. I mean, with all respect to him, but I think it's an easy thing for him to do because obviously Georgia's quarterback room. I know they got with Gunnar Stockton. It ain't as star-studded as it once was. Well, it ain't as scary or whatever. If you want to call Stetson Bennett scary, he was his last couple of years at Georgia. But I'm saying, I think Rashada wants to have something that can help build his resume, and obviously Georgia can't. He got to get out there because
he's not going to play this year. He's going to be redshirted.
And he might. This is the thing, though. I mean, you remember Eric Gilbert, the tight end.
Yeah.
See, what happens is when you supremely talented like that, people gonna give you a shot. But this is the thing Kirby told him. Kirby was like, "Now look, I'm gonna let you come over here, of course, but I guarantee you they ain't making no promises though. Them promising days for him, oh, they done. I mean, because what am I gonna promise him?
Here's what they got in him though. They've got a guy that's taken real snaps in real games in case Carson Beck goes down. And Carson Beck, as far as I'm concerned, is the best quarterback in college football coming in this coming year. I think I got him as number 1 and Quinn Ewers as my 1A. You notice that the mullet man at Texas, ever since he shaved off that mullet and went with a regular haircut, he's gotten good. I don't know if any of y'all noticed that, but I did.
Yeah, I mean, Ewers is Ewers. If Ewers don't get hurt, 2 years ago, Texas beat Alabama 2 back-to-back years. They beat them this year. I mean, 2023. They beat him in 2022 if he don't get hurt, in my opinion.
Well, I think so. I looked at some of these people rating SEC quarterbacks, and I've got Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers as my number 1, basically 1 and 1A, and I got Brady Cook as my number 3. And I think some people were telling me today they were surprised that I had Graham Mertz at number 4. I think he is the 4th best quarterback in the SEC and has a chance to be better than some of the other guys this year because he's got better talent surrounding him than he's had, and should have a better offensive line. Hard to throw when you're on your back, as you know, Ben. And the third thing is he's the second year in this system, so I think he's got a really good chance to be like the at least in the top 4 this year. I did not, I didn't rate some of these other guys like, I got Nico Iamaleava and Jalen Milroe. I got Jalen Milroe down about number 6 in the league because you don't know what you get with him. You didn't know what you got with him last year, and now he's coming in with a new coach with a new offense, and I don't know that he's going to be that. I don't know that he's going to take that quantum leap that a lot of people think. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't.
Let me jump in here and tell you that I want to make this comment about Eli Drinkwitz, and I want you guys to think about it. We'll go get Loren and bring him aboard. I'm going to tell you about our friends at our sponsors here. So what apparently Drinkwitz made a comment. We're such an instant gratification era. We're trying to dip in the step of adversity and growth. We're going to have to face it. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. Sometimes you're just trading one set of problems for another. Okay, last year Drinkwitz started 10 guys for the portal. What's he complaining about, for crying out loud? It made his team, the portal. And by the way, that's what comes with the category of I got mine last year. He's got his players. Now he's criticizing them. So you can talk about it all you want to, but opportunity exists, and they're obviously taking advantage of it. So we're going to get Loren, and then we're going to tell you about Titan MRI. I can just tell you without reading the copy about Titan MRI. Terrific place. If you need an MRI and you're in the Ocala-Gainesville area, check it out because they've got an ability to give you after hours or weekend schedules, something you can't get in many places. They want to make it a great experience for you, the customer. Go to TitanMRI.com and find out. They have special kinds of equipment that's modern that can get larger bores and therefore don't have to crowd you when you're having the MRI. Some people get claustrophobic, guys like Franz and me, and they have bigger than usual places to go have the MRI, and they'll do a terrific job for you. By the way, if you don't have insurance, no problem. Cash or card works out. It's not that expensive. So, TitanMRI.com. Check them out. Let's go get Coach Meadows and see. I wonder how close he got to being drafted. He didn't get drafted in the Army like I did, but let's see if he got drafted anywhere. He's the coach. That's good. Good evening to you, Loren. How you doing?
How you guys doing?
Well, Coach, what would you have to say about the Missouri situation and what Drinkwitz says about these players not being selfish and whatever, and griping about it, whatever? He made his team out of them last year.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a Drinkowitz fan, so it's just the little man calling the midget short. I mean, it's just it's easy for him to talk. He got a little Cotton Bowl win against the Ohio State JV. And, it's just one of those things. You're taking yourself way too serious, bro. You're at Missouri. You won a few games that you probably shouldn't have. And if Ohio State would have came in there locked and loaded, it'd have been a totally different, it just, when Eli Drinkowitz makes a comment, I mean, it's just any coach that would talk about instant gratification and people transferring right now. I mean, really, it would all be a wash because everybody's benefiting from it. So, it's the new normal. And, Drinkowitz is just, Texas is coming in the SEC, Oklahoma's coming in the SEC. He's going to be an afterthought, which, nobody's really checking for Missouri. So, that's just the way I look at it is.
Right.
I just,
Give him a shot. My only regret about Mullins, I wish he'd have punched him before that game. Hey, by the way, guys, my favorite player in the draft is Brock Bowers. I think he's one of the best football players in the draft. Just became an Oakland Raider.
Las Vegas Raider.
Las Vegas.
They'll always be the Oakland Raiders to me. They'll always be.
I'm not really betting on. I don't bet on stuff in it, but there's a certain Georgia fan out there. When I see you, you're gonna have to give me my money in ones because I told you the highest drafted tight end in the NFL history came from UF, and you told me that was gonna get broken. I told you, right? We go back and forth with the whole Kyle Pitts thing and this. I said Brock Bowers is incredible, right? I said that boy there is the show enough. But that's what I said. I said Brock Bowers is the truth. They don't make people like Kyle Pitts. They don't make human beings like that. He talking about
nobody like the unicorn.
Listen, they said being your bias. I said here's a thought, right? I said Kyle Pitts, right? Kyle Pitts is 6'6". Only the Atlanta Falcons are the only team that can't see him on Sunday. I don't know. He's 6'6". They can't see him. I don't know why. But I said Kyle Pitts had 228 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ladies said that's a good season. I said no, that was game one. So we don't want to do this.
I think you're right. I think you're right. He was a freak. He was a freak. I think as far as a football player, that this other guy, Brock Bowers, is a great football player, and so was the talent level. It's a different level.
I love Brock, but I was trying to tell people this. I said, listen, we have a recency bias now, and I get it. Brock Bowers is that dude. I say, but Kyle Pitts, like I said, it's a tight end pool, and Brock Bowers is there. He was there.
Yeah.
Right, Brock Bowers there in the deep end, and that go George Kittle, and that go. It's a bunch of tight ends, and all of a sudden you hear a cannonball. That's Kyle Pitts. He cannonballed in that thing. I'm telling you, because he do what he wants.
Kyle Pitts finally has a coach that has a clue about offense, and he showed me something by taking Michael Penix, because Kirk Cousins is coming off of an Achilles.
Yeah.
Some of these
He's
guys,
gone, yeah.
some guys come back from an Achilles and it's nothing. Some guys never come back from them. I've seen it both ways. So he's
They
there.
paid a ton of money for him to not come back, though. My gosh, how much they pay? 80.
Well, if he comes back and he's able to play, he's 36 years old. So, you give Michael Penix a chance to work behind him and everything like this, because from all accounts, Kirk Cousins is one of the smartest quarterbacks. He's kind of like Graham Mertz in one respect, in that everybody talks about how smart he is. They talk about, you can draw it all up on the boards and everything like this. But he